Political parties in Texas have had their primaries. 2022, March 1st, they're going to be runoffs. And I often mention that some homeschoolers talk to me when they start homeschooling or so when they move to Texas, and they say, Tim, why do you guys talk so much about freedom? Well, one reason for that is because in the 1980s, we suffered a lack of freedom. We know what it was like when homeschoolers were prosecuted simply for teaching their kids at home. We had an attorney general, as I've often mentioned, who said he didn't believe parents were qualified to raise their kids, much less teach them at home. We've seen in our recent times, districts, school officials, public officials who really have a total disregard for the right of parents to make decisions for their kids. So in the 1980s, we suffered the harassment, political and legal harassment, and we know what it means to have a lack of freedom to be able to make decisions for your kids about homeschooling them. So as a result of that, that has colored the culture of homeschoolers in Texas. I know that sometimes people come from states where there's a more openness between the school districts, and people say, Tim, why don't you all just cooperate? Well, unfortunately, because of that early history, there's been a culture develop among school districts that's been antagonistic toward homeschoolers. So we understand very clearly what it means to have a lack of freedom to direct the care, control, and upbringing of your kids as it relates to homeschooling in Texas. And that's the reason that we work hard. And when people ask me, Tim, why do y'all spend so much time on politics? Why do you encourage people to vote? Because we understand what it means to not have the freedom to homeschool. And we understand that that freedom is fragile. The freedom that we have today is not necessarily what we're going to have in the future. So we just experienced in the primary in March, electing candidates. Our organization has committees all over the state who vet local, state, and statewide candidates, and we endorse candidates. We publish those, and we encourage people to go vote because it's important to maintain our freedom. So as you're listening to this, you know, we're approaching the elections in May. So in May, we have a runoff election in the primaries, May the 24th. And May the 7th, we have elections for local elections. That's city council and school board elections. And I just remind people that the local school boards make policies for local school districts. So that means they get to decide whether or not homeschoolers participate in extracurricular activities in their district. That means they get to decide what the policies are for homeschoolers using facilities and that sort of thing. We elect city councils in May, which also decide things like daytime curfews that impact homeschoolers and other policies related to cities that can directly impact homeschooling. So I encourage you to be registered to vote. Go vote. What's terrible so often is to have a school district or a city council adopt a policy that's directly contradictory to the freedom of parents, and recognize that many homeschoolers don't know that person, haven't been involved in those elections. So being involved in elections in May is critical to our freedom. So I encourage you to get involved, vet those candidates locally for city council and school board. Ask them what their positions are if they're on the school board about allowing homeschoolers to participate in extracurricular activities. That's an election that will directly impact your freedom. And then, of course, in May the 24th, we're going to have runoff elections for many legislative races and statewide races that could impact homeschoolers. So when you're listening to this, it's going to be close to that time. So I encourage you to be registered to vote. Go sign up for our newsletters. Look at the candidates that are supportive of parental rights and homeschooling freedom, and participate in those elections because our freedom depends on it. So if you believe, as we do, that parents have a God-given right to raise their kids as they see fit, including how they choose to educate them, I hope you will share this video. I hope you will like it. I hope you will subscribe to our channels, and because that helps us keep Texas families free. So thank you for that, and I look forward to meeting you personally.